My name is Padmini Nidumolu, and I'm the co-founder of Lean and Agile, a platform that was co-founded with Leila Rao to bring women across Agile and Lean spaces together to exchange views, stories, journeys, challenges, and how we all survived, how we all thrived, and most importantly, bringing the journeys of those women who have really stood up for themselves, gave back to the community, and had tremendous journeys. And they are here to tell their stories of not just how they survived the challenges, but how they're thriving. And they owe it to their own hard work and, of course, the support of the community. So, as part of the series, which we call LIA100, which is interviews with 100 women across the world, today we have the most graceful and incredible lady with us from Nigeria, Grace Johnson. Welcome, Grace. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Padmini. It's so great and wonderful to be here. Thank you.
It's an honor. Grace, I'll say a few words about you, and of course, our audience will learn more as we begin talking, okay? So, few words about Grace. Grace is a fresh, very exciting voice in this global Agile community. She's dedicated to raising African Agile abilities. In 2020, she became a trustee at the Agile 20 Reflect. It was a festival, it was a celebration of 20 years of Agile. She rose to the challenge of creating a global Agile delivery organization. And we all probably took part in it in some shape or form, and we all have seen Grace in action ourselves. She led the community of over 85 country ambassadors from over 140 participating countries. Just fathom that for a second, right? 85 country ambassadors from all time zones. I can only imagine, how she would have managed the time zones. She must have slept for about 10 minutes a day. But she's currently working with her team at the Agile 20 Reflect Festival to set up Access Agile Foundation. This is an offshoot of the Agile 20 Reflect Festival, and I have no doubt or apprehension that this will be an incredible community give back foundation and an organization. So all power to Access Agile, all power to you, Grace. Welcome again. So glad to have you here.
Thank you so much, Padmini. It's an honor, seriously, to be with you live. Thank you.
Same here. It's likewise, Grace. So let's get started on your journey into, let's talk about Agile 20 Reflect Festival, because that was huge. Took months of preparation, as far as I know. I interacted with you quite a bit because we both did a lot of work together. And I always wondered, what attracted you to the festival, to the community, and what brought you to the festival?
Wow. I honestly, there wasn't an attraction in the first place. I really wanted to be part of the festival. I really didn't understand the magnitude. I only saw, I think I came across the slide while I was doing some Agile training that talked about Agile 20 Reflects, and I felt it was a place where I could just come in and put my Agile knowledge to practice, because that was what I had been wanting to do. All through 2020, during the lockdown, I had been, going from one online training to another, trying to gather more Agile knowledge, and I had been a project manager, and so I really wanted to be Agile. I really, really wanted to be Agile. And so I came across this and I went to the website, and seriously, there was really nothing attractive about it. I had to search and search for where to apply. And then I almost gave up, but it was already 12 midnight in Nigeria. And my husband urged me to go back and apply. He really wanted me also to get practicing Agile. And so I went back turned on my PC, and then I sent in an application. And, the following day, the chief pirate himself contacted me. And, he added me to groups. The chief pirate, Scott Sebright, the founder of the festival. And so we got talking, and then, and then when I listened to him, I realized it was a global something. And he wanted people to come up. How it was like in the initial stages, it was an idea. We were still trying to get people, there wasn't a blueprint about how to go about it. And so that was how we got started. And then my first task was I thought I would really just focus on Africa. He was like, could you help bring people on board from Africa? And I'm like, of course, I'm up. Anything for the festival, I would. And then he said, okay, let's do it global. Let's go global. Let's get people from around the world representing countries. And boom, that was it. My first task was to bring up, probably do a setup of how I felt an ambassador network would look like. And so that was how it started.
Yeah, and oh man, what a journey it was, right? I think it would have been a very, very rewarding and a rich experience for you because, as you said, there was no initial inclination or even an idea of where it would have led, your involvement. And starting from Africa to making it global and sticking to all odds. I remember what it took, for months. I think, as you said, you were figuring out things because there's no template, as you said, right? There's nothing like this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There
Yeah.
was no template at all. There was no blueprint. There was no plan. The
Yeah.
idea was, let's get people from around the world. Since it's going to be a global party, he was like, he always goes back, Scott always make reference to the Edinburgh Festival. And so he wanted, let's have something global. And so it took, sometimes when I take up some task, I sometimes don't understand the magnitude. I don't get a full grasp of the magnitude. I don't get the full grasp of the details of the job. If probably Scott or Ajatoni Reflect Festival had written down a criteria for people to come apply to become a world ambassador, I don't think I would have applied. I may just have looked at myself and said, probably I wasn't up to the task. But it was basically nothing really attractive. And then we started, first thing first, we started with setting up how it should look like. And it was more like a flow of relationship from the hub to the regions. And then that was what I was thinking when I was on my PC trying to draw up a picture of how it should look like on Miro. And so I said it was more like a flow of relationship. And so I had to defend it before the trustees.
Right.
And when everybody said, like, this looks more hierarchical. It looks like a project management structure. And I really thought about that while doing that. And so I avoided doing it more to look like a structure. I just said it was more like a flow of relationship. And so that was how we started. And then, being that I was a fresh voice, I was new to Agile. I needed two more people, two more seasoned people in Agile were attached to me to help me. And so we first set up meetings and they were there to advise me and basically, I would say set the foundation of how it should look like. They were talking of customer journeys. They were talking of a lot of things in Agile. And all I was thinking about was let's have a document. Like Simon would say, Simon Herbert, let's have a document of let's draft the why. Why in the first place should we have an ambassador network? Is it really necessary to get people from around the world doing Agile? Why should we send a call out to people to come join us to a festival? And so that was where it started. And so I went, and basically writing was one of my fun things to do. And then I went on, I just, I just got enthusiastic about it and started writing why I thought we should have an ambassador network. I kept writing and going. I kept giving points. And then I sent him the document and he was like, wow, I really didn't think the document would amount to anything. And he was, this is beautiful. You can then begin. And I'm like, are you serious? Okay. He said, we can then begin with doing an awareness. And that was how we started. Going back to the trustees, I had a deadline of, I think 10th of, I would never forget, 10th of November to have 50 ambassadors in place, and being that Ajatoni Reflect was basically new, people didn't really understand and had a full grasp of what we really wanted to do. It was really hard getting people, even though we did a lot of awareness, the trustees, we used our social media handles, we talked to people. There was a morning I woke up and went on LinkedIn, searching for Agilists all around the world, searching for Agilists in Africa. I was sending letters to Agile communities in China. I was doing that on a daily basis. But one thing worked for us. We had one person on board. We had the second person, and the first person we go about telling, it was mainly by word of mouth that we the ambassador network grew. And so it was like organic. And then before you knew it, you had tons and tons of applications, and every morning, and that's why I have my glasses on, because my eyes became like the applications didn't stop. And by 10th of November 2020, we had over 50 ambassadors, and that was how it kept growing.
Beautiful.
And before you knew it, people were complaining. I sent an application.
Good problem to have. Yeah, that's a good problem to have, right? Yeah. No, that's incredible journey, Grace. And as you're sharing this journey with me, right? Um, uh, One of the thoughts I had many thoughts, but one of the thoughts I had was, of course, you didn't know the magnitude of this when you were getting into it, right? Because there's no blueprint, you just don't know how it kind of extrapolates. But as you were figuring out that this could be a mammoth effort, right? And I ask this of you especially because when you know you're getting into something huge, when you know the number of hours will kind of go crazy that you need to invest in, and you have a family, you have a job, right? How did you come to kind of terms with this in your mind? How did you strike the balance, right? What kept you going? Because any other woman, including myself, would be like, oh my god, this is just too much. It's like a project on steroids.
Like Padmini, I think I wake up on a daily basis and I still don't tell myself the magnitude of what I was doing. Truthfully, I would get to wake up every morning. I had to bathe my kids because as at September, Nigeria was back up. Kids were back to school.
Yeah.
And so I had to wake up early, bath them, prepare, their lunch boxes, food for school, and then drive them to school, and then get back home, and then continue just do because and then that will be when my help usually comes. My nanny usually comes. She has a child as well, so I give her that breathing space. I allow her to also attend to her kid before coming to my house to help clean up the house. And so I had somebody that always helped clean the house, but I needed to do the cooking. I had to, help with the kids, bathe them. I really don't like anybody else bathing my kids sometimes. And so I have to do it myself. And so it was, I think I would say what kept me would be, I don't think I had this energy or this drive now. I had it years and years ago. It's always been in me. Back in school, I know it came from my dad. He always wanted us to be at our best. He always wanted us to come back with A's. He loved girls. He loved more than he would. Yes, and I've never seen a man that would. They are out there, but I had my dad that loved really the girl child. He was always rooting for us. He wanted us to be, the best we could be. He really wanted me to be a professor, and I am like, no, I would love to have a PhD, but I don't think being a professor will be in my line. But it's always been there. I worked for organizations where the workload have been really, really tasking, but I still don't see myself breaking. What I see is the end goal. What I see is the target. What I see constantly when I wake up is the fact that I have to attend to somebody. I don't really put up the load on myself, but I feel interacting with Padmini is one way of getting to the goal, interacting with her in a respectful way, meeting her needs, attending to her, being the best I can. It didn't just start with Agile Turn Reflect. It started with years of preparation, I love to be diligent. I love to do my job. I really do it well, and so there were no excuses for me. There's no excuse to really not do what you're supposed to do really well. So that was my focus daily, to really be agile. And then when I came in, I fell deeply in love with Agile. I love the fact that it wasn't a controlling environment. All my life I had wanted a workspace where we could really collaborate. I love project management more because of it was really detailed, and I love difficult things. The
Obviously.
first time I took a project management course, I felt, yes, this is really difficult, but I love difficult things. I love, give me the hard things to do and I'll do it really well. That's basically me. And so, but coming into project management, I realized how, the power the project manager has could just not make for a conducive working environment.
Right.
I've seen it where I worked. Yes, I've seen, I've been under that weight of, you have to do this, you have to go this way, you control, this is what you do, this is what you don't do.
Yeah.
And my ideas were not really, yes. And sometimes I knew I always was that person that could sit down and see the wrongs or the routes we could take, and then it wouldn't lead to success. And I was always telling them, don't do this, let's go this way and all of that. But it was never heeded to, and I felt I needed a collaborative environment. So coming to Agile, I put on the cap, of collaboration. I wanted to be that person that was respectful, that was ethical. I wanted to be that person that, the values of Agile. It was, for me, it's love. Agile is love.
Wow.
If somebody doesn't love you, he wouldn't want to collaborate with you, he wouldn't respect you. And then it gives us the template of how we should interact with the world, basically. And I always say it, even at our trustees meeting, I say there is one language the world understands. Not everybody understands English. Not everybody understands my pidgin English from Nigeria, but everybody understands the language of respect. And
Absolutely.
so
I
if you
think,
can,
yeah,
yes.
you just nailed it. You just nailed it, Grace. I think um, I can't tell you how power packed everything that you just in the last, I think, 4 minutes is. If I can unpack that, I think I can go on for another 3 minutes. I think you nailed it because Agile is all about human interactions and how we can make it work, right? Right from the customer needs to how we actually solve for the challenges for the customer and internally. Everything is about understanding and ensuring that we respect and love each other. What you just said is so powerful for a couple of reasons. One thing that you said is you really did this as a service to the community. I think you put the needs of elevating somebody else and how to meet the needs of others over everything else in your personal life. I think that was a true work of service. And the other thing is, I think you truly collaborated with love, and all of us have seen it. You've done it out of love for people, you've done it out of respect for people, and it was not a mask you wore. I'm talking about the pretentious mask, right? Not the COVID mask. But it was a very genuine place you were coming from each time we spoke with you. And in fact, the very first time I got introduced to you through the trustees, right? I didn't even meet you or speak with you back then, but they
Mhm.
said one thing, that when you meet Grace, you will understand why she is such a valuable trustee of the festival. And I was actually curious to meet you because I wanted to meet, such a woman who's actually putting her heart and soul, and we now know why. And that's a powerful message
Oh my.
community right there, right? To really see love and respect in collaboration. And I think with those two elements, you can really crack any challenge in my mind, honestly. So I think that is just incredible and very, very powerful. Thanks for sharing that. Um,
Thank you, Padmini.
that's
Yeah.
something that we all want to know and hear. That's fantastic.
Pleasure is mine.
And just an offshoot of this conversation, right, Grace? At any time, because I think some of us are capable of embarking on difficult journeys, right? We do get into it, and very few of us really see the end of it, right? Many of us might be leaving the journey halfway, not because we want to leave things unfinished, but maybe because it's complicated, too complex, lack of time, or just lack of support from your family or friends or organization. It's easy to give up, right? It is very hard to stick on and sail on. And I think in your journey, you must have had so many challenges with the festival, so many impediments with the festival, right? Let's not even go there because it's a huge festival that you were partly carrying on your shoulders. Tell us what kept you going, Grace. Besides the love and respect and collaborative mindset, how did you keep it all together for months and months together?
Wow. The challenges, looking back, wow. I remember sometime late November, early December, there was this frustration. You could feel it in the trustees, you could feel it in the festival that the ambassadors were not forthcoming. The goal was to have like probably 100 events, yes, 150 events. Nobody really believed in the ambassador network. That's the truth. Just really, really few people believe in the ambassador network. And that was because, you could talk to ambassadors. And sometimes, I used to send weekly emails to them, to ambassadors. I send weekly emails to them and then probably give them updates and thank them. And but sometimes nobody responds. We did a number of town halls and you could have less than 10 people attending. But it wasn't going to be a discouragement for me.
Yeah.
At some point, 1, 2 trustees will come to me, and I'm sure probably the chief pirate was sending some of them. He has to confess, and you're like, like, what are your challenges? What could we do? The ambassadors sound okay. The statement was the ambassadors seem like our weakest link.
Yeah.
That alone would have, made you given up. Made me given up, and made probably the network as well given up. We had some volunteers as well. We had a scrum master, but sometimes she would be there, and sometimes most of the times, and so I had to really take enough of a lot of the workload. But I keep saying, if you're doing something right, don't stop doing it. I believed those weekly, and sometimes we send emails twice a week. I believe those weekly emails was feeding them with information, but they were, there was no feedback. And once there's no feedback, you feel frustrated sometimes. You feel probably the energy you're putting in isn't working. You feel what you're doing isn't really having the necessary effect, impact you want it to have. But I had this sense in me that these people are actually taking in this information. I believed, I kept telling them, okay, and they were like, we'll project. Would we have up to 100 events? I said, we'll have over 200 events. That was me projecting. Scott was projecting over, if we had over 50 events, we had over 100 events, it was going to be a successful festival. And I'm like, at some point, I sat down one day and I'm like, I said, because I know all of the ambassadors, this could bring this would bring the number of events, this would bring the, and it was going over 200. I'm like, we're going to have over 200 events. We're really going to have over 250. And, before they were really working. We were feeding them with the information. They were working, but we really didn't know that they were working. And then we had to do an ambassador guide. We felt maybe some of them didn't really understand the job, or maybe they didn't really understand how to set up events. I knew some of them really didn't know how to set up events. I knew because I interacted with them on different platforms. Some preferred LinkedIn. It was a challenge, but I was willing to go. I wanted, if not for anything, my heart and soul will be this festival. It will be truly global and will have people truly participate. And if I knew if I didn't come from a place of love and respect, they're doing this thing for free, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
What we're giving them back probably is the publicity we give them on LinkedIn. What else was Agile 20 giving back to the ambassadors? Not much, And so if you're interacting and you're working with a set of people like that, you really need to treat them with the utmost respect and love and attend to their needs. I felt these people were a gold mine. To me, I felt they were a gold mine for us. They were our reach to the world. And so some of them some ambassadors were not really easy to deal with. Some came back with warnings. Don't message me here. Don't take me off the WhatsApp. Take me off here. You could only contact me here. And I had to set up a form and at some point and ask them where they wanted me to interact with them, and it really didn't go well. It really didn't go far because I really understood where I could really interact with some of them. Some was LinkedIn, some was WhatsApp, and all of that. It was a big challenge, but I was ready to. The goal was to make it worldwide. The goal was to take Agile, most importantly, I knew my country was really needed Agile. I knew I needed Agile. And I put myself in their shoes. I was more like a case study for the world. I was looking at those countries. I was looking at Bangladesh. I knew the ambassador was struggling to set up events. He really didn't know how. But he's been probably, to me, he was an introvert. But he came up with events afterwards. He collaborated with a lot of people. It was a big challenge. But as at second week of January, we saw South America put up over 50 events.
Yeah.
And it was wow. And then some ambassadors, oh, I have, and someone messaged me and said, we have 10, oh, I'm putting up over 10 events. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, let's go. And then the next ambassador will put up 5. And then, but I kept going round. I kept, the interaction. I wanted to be the person they were comfortable with. I wanted to be the person, I just wanted to get to them. And sometimes I would ask them if they had any challenge, if there was any way we could help. We're here to help. We're here to collaborate. But they were a good mind. We really weren't giving them much, but they were giving us much. They were bringing their countries on board. What they were bringing was to take Agile to, seed communities and begin to have conversations and tell people that Agile could really help your business. It could help your organizations. Let's go Agile. Yeah. It's a lockdown and it's a way of, a better way of collaboration. The challenges were there, but I wouldn't like the way. I can't name and list them all here. It was tough. It was tough.
Yeah. But I think what was more valuable was, despite the challenges, despite the investment of time that it demanded, you persisted, Grace, and you persisted gracefully. That's more important, right? I think until the end, you were the go-to person for several things, and so was Scott, and you were also inviting and always there. And we all wondered, just one question was on everybody's mind, I'm sure. When did these folks sleep? Because you were working with all time zones and you were always available. I always wondered, did you guys even sleep for those 4 months? I mean, heavily sleep deprived. So,
Padmini, we slept. I slept. Yes, the time zones were a big challenge.
Yeah.
But from the beginning, I later understood, the best time, it's not really hard, I could really be comfortable talking to you at this time from where you are. I'm in Nigeria. We are 6 hours, I'm 6 hours ahead of you.
Yeah.
And so, but now I'm 5 hours ahead of you. Yeah. And so I know probably from 11 a.m. would be a good time to talk. I'm sure you would have probably maybe settled a lot of things on the home front and probably settled at work. So 11 a.m. And for some people, like Anurag, I could talk to him when I wake up in the morning, because by then he's like in India, it's already afternoon and going towards the end of work day.
Yeah.
Yes. And then people in Europe, most of them were on those on Western Europe were on Northern Europe, were on GMT, and then those in Northern Europe were just 1 hour ahead of me, and some were 2 hours ahead, so it was easier. I think the challenge was Singapore. Yes, Singapore. But we still sometimes she messages me that's Matt Haven. She messages me around just when I'm waking up in the morning, like 5 a.m. and so it was easy.
Yeah.
Yes, it was it was really easy. I came to understand how it worked. And so it was really easy.
We struggle with just 2 or 3 time zones, and you were working with like 140 countries and 85 ambassadors. But that's what I'm saying. I think it's probably, in the hindsight, it's easier to just think through and laugh about it. But we have a huge appreciation for what you have done, for what the festival has done. And I think that it's a huge shout out to Scott, to Sat, and everybody involved in the trustees group who enabled you to do as well, because you need the
trustees
government, right? So huge kudos to the trustees of the festival, and now Access Agile is out there, and we are looking up to it. We hope that the organization goes forward with the same philosophy and with the same, desire to give back to the community.
Surely.
Thank you so much for everything
Yeah.
you have done. So as we wrap up, Grace, do you have any inspiring words or words of wisdom for our audience? It could be just a word, it could be a sentence, something that you strongly
Yes.
drives you forward.
Okay, let me just quickly also thank the trustees. There were a number of them that we always come around to, like Sat is just a number of them, Sat, Scott, Shelby, the marketing team, Manuel, Carl that never sleeps. I don't think Carl sleeps. We need to do therapy on Carl. He's great. Yusuf, YD, Yusuf, Dim, yeah. Just shout out to all of them. I would say, the world is in a challenging time. We should learn to respect people, irrespective of religion, their tribes, their ethnicity. Respect is the language of love. And if you have to get to somebody's heart, you first learn to respect where the person is coming from. So
Wow.
with that, we can actually, penetrate the world and do great things. So that's it for me.
Yeah. And I love what you said. Thank you so much, Grace, by the way, for sharing that. And I really want to quote and frame those words that you said. Respect is the language of love. That just cemented it for
It's the
me.
language of love.
It just cemented it for me because you can't love somebody if you cannot respect them. So I think that is it, right? There lies it. So thank you so much for sharing your journey and your background and your travel with Agile 20 Reflect. All power to you, Grace, and huge respect to what you do, and the community is behind you. And keep doing the great things that you've been doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Padmini. Thank you for shining the light on women. Thank you for what Lean In Agile is doing. I always say I look up to you. You inspire me in so many ways. So thank you too.
Thank
Seriously.
you, Grace.
Thank you.